to start by just having the both of you introduce yourself and then talk a little bit about Creative Options Regina.
So Creative Options Regina is a nonprofit that supports people in the community with intellectual disabilities and mental health concerns. I am a psychiatric nurse by trade, but I'm the director of mental health here.
And I'm Kasey, and I'm in our family support role here at CORE. I also am a clinical social worker, so I do counseling with some of the folks that we support. And my day-to-day pre-COVID was a lot of in-person counseling sessions, meeting with teams, meeting with families. Gentle teaching is a philosophy that was founded by Dr. John McGee, and it's a philosophy that we base our entire organization, all of our practices. And the basics of gentle teaching is that we want to make sure people are feeling safe and loved and that they're loving towards others and engaged in their life. A main tenet of how we operate is we don't ever use our hands in a physical manner. We don't do any restraints, and we don't use any rewards or punishments or behavior charts, no behavior modification. And that's quite in contrast to what a lot of other organizations do.
So how has the COVID-19 pandemic changed how you support people and how you do your jobs?
It was a bit of a whirlwind learning experience, I think, for all of us. And I am the only nurse that's here right now with the organization, and consequently kind of started my own clinic out of my car in terms of going to everyone's house, because we do have a lot of injections and things that they were getting done at clinics are coming to the office here for, and we closed down here and didn't have anyone coming. So I got a whole bunch of supplies or whatever we could get and went to everyone's homes. We did have experience with an outbreak in one of our homes right off the get-go. It was very traumatic for, I think, everyone involved, to be honest, and it sort of put us all on edge. We were in daily contact with public health and did all the contact tracing for everyone, had all of the best we could do for isolation in the house for the individual. We ran a very small group of supports down to the bare minimum, and it was just, what can we do to get basic needs met? We got supper and food catered to the house. They didn't have to worry about cooking. We just brought everything in, everything disposable, tried to do as much as we could in terms of informing the people around the house so that no one came there. We were fortunate enough that no one was seriously ill. So that was a very, very positive thing, that we didn't have to go through anyone needing to go to the hospital or anything like that. But we all had our days or maybe our weeks of breakdowns that just continued to happen because it felt like there was no end in sight. If more than one house went down at once, we were going to be in a lot of trouble. So we were trying to limit how many people were going everywhere. And given that I had to go to the houses, I kind of became a bit of a delivery service as well. So I'd be picking up medications or cleaning things, PPE, that kind of stuff, and doing weekly checks to all the homes. So a lot of my jobs switched from being in the office at all to on the road pretty much daily.
And I do counseling with folks that we support here in CORE, so obviously that had to come to a drastic halt because I wasn't able to see people in person anymore. And so I switched all of my counseling sessions to virtual sessions, which proved challenging in the sense that some people I saw for sessions don't even have an iPad or a phone or a computer that they're able to use to connect with me over. And then some other people that I see have some limitations with their verbal abilities. So even just being able to express themselves just using words was really challenging over Zoom. Whereas in person, I'm able to pick up on their body language. And then in terms of supporting families, that has been challenging as well because we were given restrictions from the government on who is allowed into our homes. So I have a lot of families that I work with that are really used to going to their child's home regularly, checking in. Their family members are some of their only support people in their lives outside of CORE. So having having that taken away so drastically was not only difficult for the families, but also for the people that we support. A lot of what I do is encouraging people to connect with their friends, their family, get out into the community, really find those healing aspects through connection with others and being part of something larger than yourself. And obviously that came to a halt. What we do had to be adapted really quickly. And I think nobody was able to prepare for this. We obviously didn't know how to deal with a pandemic, so we did the best that we could, and hopefully in the future another one doesn't come, but I think we've learned some things and we know what we could do differently. We have to get creative in how to create community at home.
And then you top that with supporting our supports in the homes, which has been a whole other level, because it started off with just basics. Are you willing to stay working right now? Because we are an essential service. It helped us plan that for each home, if something did go the other way, we sort of knew what to expect and who was going to be there and who had to take a step back. One of the highlights of it was that we saw people come together. However, as time has gone on, we've definitely seen ebbs and flows of everyone's mental health across the board.
A central aspect of what we work on and what we help people with is helping them to feel safe. And that's really difficult to do, is to help other people feel safe when you yourself are not feeling safe.
There was daily live challenges sent out from the studio, and it got quite a following. So again, a lot of on the interactive side of things, but we were able to get a good schedule going in terms of like routine of what to expect on our like live Facebook page. And for the people that had access to that, we found that supports made a really good effort of, even if the individuals themselves didn't have a computer or an iPad, they would pull out their phones or they would bring their own computers to the house and be like, hey, let's find out what's happening today so we can get involved that way.
A few people I can think of that set up some like socially distancing hangout. That way they could at least still physically see someone in person. And I think a lot of people just got pretty creative in terms of doing more at home that they normally wouldn't. And even just those everyday things that seem kind of boring, like cooking or baking, became then an activity they could do, that they could drop it off at someone's house, or, take a picture and send to their mom and show them what they made, and just a different way to connect with others. The level of resiliency that they do have, and that there is actually a lot of inherent skills and traits that people carry that they don't even realize and we don't even realize, that just really help them get through tough times. I know in our office and with my friend group, just making sure you send that message or have that phone call, making sure people are feeling okay and validating that it is okay to feel scared.
We have some that are almost hyper vigilant now and want to have everything checked out and are very concerned about anything that they feel in their body, or sometimes it's even things that they hear on the news. They internalize it and feel like they have that going on right now, and so we need to get it checked out. So there's been a lot of consult in terms of doing voice appointments versus a few that we have gone into emerge with, and some that have been able to see a doctor in their clinics recently. And for them, it's more of the validation that they go there and I think that they hear that they're okay.
Some people are taking it personal, like as though being told to wash their hands is because they're dirty or they're gross, or having people stand 6 feet apart or not wanting to hug them is because they've done something bad. No matter how we frame it or how we explain it, just think it's because they've done something.
Things are loosening up and there's a lot of people that are getting a little too comfortable too quick. For the people that we support, they're starting to understand now that things are opening up, but they live in a very black and white world. So to have all these middle grounds of no, only this much can happen in this area, or we can only go here but not there, and we still have to wash our hands and we can't touch, that's being very difficult to explain to them.
I mean, I think it's really opened my eyes in terms of how on a systemic level, we just don't account for people with disabilities when we do planning for these sorts of things. In healthcare and social services, in the policies that are written, how the public health order is written, those things just do not include someone with an intellectual disability in the way that they're created. And it's a huge gap. Issues with or bumps with were due to some, larger than us policy concerns. So even, you know, with the outbreak in the home and working with public health, they were amazing. Contact tracing, all of that was really incredible, but there's just so many aspects of living with a disability that don't fit into the neat lines of how to self-isolate.
What is the appropriate response when someone with a disability doesn't understand a public health order
Mm-hmm.
or doesn't understand orders coming from the government and then maybe breaks them?
Mm-hmm.
And what is our response to that that makes the most sense to keep them safe?
Obviously, working in the areas that we all work, we're well aware of that, but I think on a larger level, it was an eye-opener for a few other places that we've had to interact with. And I hope that changes do come from it, and we are more willing and able to include voices of people with disabilities.